Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are winding the clock all the way back to 1994. Now, this was a year right on the cusp of some massive, massive changes. And we're going to see it through the eyes of a real pioneer in online education, Morten Flate Paulsen. His story, well, it really captures a year of huge national pride, incredible leaps in technology, and a whole nation trying to decide its future. So, 1994 kicks off with this absolutely incredible moment for Norway, the Lillehammer Winter Olympics. The president of the International Olympic Committee himself, Juan Antonio Samaranch, went on record calling them the best ever. And that, you can imagine, resonated so deeply across the entire country. But here's the thing. These games, they weren't just a triumph in sportsmanship. No, they were a landmark moment for what was then the brand new, and let's be honest, pretty mysterious world of the internet. This was literally where national pride met the World Wide Web for the very first time on such a huge global stage. And that national pride was just electric. Norwegian athletes completely dominated the games. They won a remarkable 26 medals. That's more than any other nation. And it just united the whole country in this massive celebration. And all this excitement was being shared in a totally revolutionary new way. For the first time ever, fans anywhere in the world, as long as they had an internet connection, could get the results in almost real time. This was thanks to a service from OsloNet, which was Norway's first commercial web company. They used the brand spanking new graphical browser Mosaic to create the first ever web page for a major international sports event. Honestly, it was a complete game changer. Now, our guide through this year, Morten Paulsen, he shares this wonderfully vivid memory. See, lodging was pretty much impossible to find, so he and his son ended up staying in a friend's dental office. And he remembers watching that spectacular opening ceremony on TV while reclining in the dental chair, sipping a glass of wine with the actual fireworks visible right through the window. It's just such a perfect, quirky little snapshot of that time. But, get this. In a moment of just stunning contrast, as the entire nation and the world were totally captivated by the joy of the opening ceremony, a dramatic heist was going down in the capital. The country's most iconic painting, Edvard Munch's The Scream, was stolen right out of the National Museum, a stark, dramatic counterpoint to all that Olympic celebration. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We're going to move from the public spectacle of the Olympics to the professional frontier, where Morten was a true pioneer, online education. While the world was getting its very first taste of online sports results, he was busy building the virtual classrooms of the future. In the spring of '94, NKI launched its Open Electronic College. Now, this was their second-generation platform, and it was a huge leap from the older, closed systems. It moved distance learning completely onto the internet, and that connected students not just to the college, but also to each other through email. It offered this incredible flexibility with what they called unpaced courses, which basically meant students could start, study, and finish them entirely on their own schedule. But this leap into the future wasn't without its challenges. Adopting the early internet was a real trade-off. On the one hand, the interface was, well, it was a setback. It was clunky, all text-based, it didn't support special Norwegian characters, and you couldn't do email attachments. But on the other hand, the opportunities were just immense. Global reach, a much larger pool of potential students, and access to a whole world of online resources. And you gotta love this. The small, dedicated team behind this whole shift, including his key colleagues Jan Nørgaard and Ann-Karin Aukre, they found some pretty unique ways to build camaraderie. Morten shares this great story where, because Jan was a part-time tram driver, they actually rented a city tram for a team-building party, just cruising through Oslo with pizza and beer. What a perfect analog celebration for a digital revolution, right? So, while technology was rapidly dissolving borders and connecting people all across the globe, the nation of Norway was facing this deeply divisive question about its own borders and its future relationship with Europe. The national debate was incredibly intense. On one side, you had powerful arguments for protecting Norway's hard-won independence and its control over national resources. But on the other side, there were these really pragmatic arguments, that a small country needs to form alliances, that it needs access to international markets, and that it should probably align with its neighbors who are already joining. For Morten Paulsen, his day-to-day work in this brand new, borderless digital world of the internet, well, it heavily shaped his perspective. He saw a future that was built on international collaboration, a world where digital services just didn't recognize national boundaries. And so for him, the choice was clear. He decided to vote yes. And on November 28th, the country voted. The result, wow, it was incredibly close. But by a very narrow margin of just over 52%, Norway voted no to joining the European Union for the second time. And this is where things get really interesting, because this created this fascinating divergence. While the nation officially chose a path of independence, the technological currents of 1994 were undeniably pulling the world in a much, much more interconnected direction. Let's just zoom out for a second and put Norway's year into a wider global context. You had the Channel Tunnel physically linking the UK and France. Nelson Mandela's election symbolized a brand new South Africa. And look at this. Norway's neighbors Sweden and Finland. They both voted yes to the EU just weeks before Norway's no. And that leads to this profoundly ironic outcome. The country voted against formal European integration, and yet for Morton, the borderless internet that he was helping to build, it became the foundation for a long career of EU-funded projects and European collaboration. The digital revolution, it seems, was already forging a new, connected Europe, regardless of what the referendum said. And that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? The central tension of 1994, this push and pull between globe-spanning technology and national identity, it hasn't gone away. If anything, it's become one of the defining questions of our time. It's a tension that all of us are still navigating in our modern, hyper-connected world.